It has been quite a month. Originally, I wasn't even sure if I was going to talk about Divided States of Hysteria, but there has been so much conversation going on over the last 6 weeks or so, I just kind of felt like I had to. One of the other reasons I wasn't sure if I was going to was that also would mean I would have to read Divided States of Hysteria, but I did, and here we are. Alright, let's get into this thing. Let's get drunk and talk comics. So you'd be forgiven for not knowing who Howard Chaykin is. He's not exactly the biggest name in comics, so if you didn't know who he was before the last few weeks, that's completely understandable. And if you're still not really sure who he is, just imagine a low-rent Frank Miller on a performance-enhancing Metamucil. He's most known for creating American Flag, a political satire set in the future. You're gonna see a pattern forming here, by the way. Hemingway's, Chaykin has worked on a ton of Marvel, DC, and indie books over the years, as well as some TV stuff. So it's very likely you've at least seen something he's had his hands on before. Like The Flash, for instance.
My name is Barry Allen, and I am the fastest man alive.
No, not that one. Yep, that's the one. Oh, I miss the 90s. So Chaykin dropped out of comics for a few years, and that was the period of time when he wrote like 9 episodes for The Flash. He actually also wrote for Mutant X, if anybody remembers that show. Okay, sidebar, can I just say how much that show pissed me off when I found out about it? Mutant X is a great series that involves the 616 version of Havoc being placed in a displaced reality where everything is messed up. Storm's a vampire, Beast is like Super Beast. There's just so much going on in that book, and it's really great, and that show sucks balls. So Chaykin came back to comics and continued to produce work for the big two and for indie publishers. Most recently, he did a book with Matt Fraction called Satellite Sam, which gets mixed reviews. Man, how do you make a bad book with Matt Fraction?
The Shadow knows.
Thanks, 90s movie trailer voice. Chaykin's Shadow Revival is actually one of his more well-received series. It's actually available now on Comixology. So yeah, while Chaykin is maybe not the most well-known name in comics, he is at least a known and respected creator. I want to make a side note here, though. In the wake of all this controversy, I've seen a lot of other YouTubers and Twitter users talking about how Howard Chaykin is a legend, and you do not go after or question a legend. Okay, first off, Howard Chaykin is not a legend. Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams, King Kirby, Steve Ditko, Claremont, Lee, McFarlane, all of these people are legends. Hell, even Frank Miller can be classified as a legend. But Howard Chaykin is not a legend. He's a notable figure at best. Chaykin is a lot like Miller, though, in that you can have a really respected body of work and still find yourself in an unfavorable view as far as the public eye is concerned. He's also another example where I not only separate the art from the artist, but actual pieces of their entire bibliography. I love The Dark Knight Returns. I love 300. I love Sin City. But what the fuck is this? Is that Superman's dick? That is totally Superman's dick. Frank has been an edgy tryhard for quite a few years now, though. Seriously, Frank. I don't know what it is that does it, but some creators just become these like cranky old men who believe they have this very nuanced view of the world, when in reality, they're just Eastwood and Gran Torino.
Get off my lawn.
So yeah, Chaykin is just trying to give us his take on our current society by satirizing the right's views on the dangers of terrorism and chicks with dicks, with no trigger warnings or safe spaces. He's taking the position of provocateur by trying to challenge the reader with this really intentionally offensive content. But it's just bad. Look, before we even delve into the content of the writing here, can we seriously talk about these interiors? That busyness is meant to represent both the assault of information we receive daily in the digital age and the information that main character Frank Villa pours through in his job, but it just doesn't work. And those dialogue bubbles and the boxes look like the books from the 90s when letterers had just discovered Photoshop. Even those sound effects just scream 90s extreme.
Check it out, Extreme Center!
Visually, this book is a goddamn mess. And hey, maybe that's Chaykin's intention. maybe he's trying to represent the mess that our world is currently in. But that does not stop the book from looking like garbage. And I'm not talking about just any garbage. I'm talking about leftovers you left in the floorboard of the car before you parked it in the driveway and took a vacation for 4th of July. This book makes The Dark Knight Strikes Again look like a goddamn masterpiece.
A masterpiece?
What is this? All 4 of these women have the exact same face. And holy shit, why is Flashpoint Martha Wayne in this book? Then there's the content itself. And it needs to be noted, Chaykin is actually a progressive. He's not right, far right, alt-right.
Alright.
So as I stated before, he's attempting to satirize the right's views, not only of our world, but of the sensibilities of the left. So I ran through some of the reviews for this book, and it's mostly bad. You do have a few bloggers and YouTubers who are kind of more on the right that are giving it positive reviews, but for the most part, people seem to be in agreement that it's pretty bad. The main consensus seems to be that he's just not sticking the landing. Chaykin is trying his best to emulate edgier writers like Garth Ennis, who I'm actually a big fan of. Garth tends to tackle really dark subjects, he likes graphic violence, really in-your-face type of content, and that's what Chaykin's going for here, but the difference is this is just shock for the sake of shock, whereas with Ennis, he's generally got a deeper story he's trying to tell. Chaykin may feel like he's got a deeper story he's trying to tell here, but it's really not, and it's not anything new, and it's not anything that we haven't seen before. And a big part of why it doesn't work is it just seems to suffer from this identity crisis. It's almost like he was trying to appeal to the left to try and weed out the SJWs, but really all he did was alienate that audience, and then the right audience seems to think he's just trying to shove his progressive views down everybody else's throat. So essentially, you just alienated most of the audience for the book. This is all covered in the essay at the end of the book, which I'm going to get to. But like I said, mostly this book is just shock for the sake of shock. It really doesn't have anything to say other than, look how fucked up our world is. So from the main protagonist, Frank Villa, who is cheating on and lying to his wife, to the transgendered prostitute who kills her Johns in self-defense, to the black guys who are trying to gun down every white person they can, to the black Muslim women who are shoving bombs up into their wombs to jihad an airport, there's not a single relatable or redeemable character in this book. And that transgendered prostitute, Chaykin has actually said, is going to be the moral center of the book. If that's the case, given the dialogue that the character presents before the incident occurs, I don't think this book is going to have a moral center. And that's okay, you don't always have to. You know, sometimes you can tell stories about terrible people doing terrible things, and that's fine. But again, it just doesn't work here. Hell, even Villa's kids are portrayed as spoiled and entitled brats, which is clearly Chaykin's hot take on millennials. By the way, this entire story rolls out of the president and most of his cabinet having been assassinated in an attempted coup, and don't we already have a television show running on that premise right now? That's the one. Oh, Kiefer. So if it wasn't enough that he was injecting his views into the book, there's actually an essay after the final page. And it's just 628 words worth of some of the most self-serving and masturbatory nonsense I think I've ever read in my life. Chaykin's upset at the current administration having won the election and goes on to blame his own party for the loss. Let me read a little bit of it here. He states, instead of trigger warnings, cultural appropriation, safe spaces, and social justice warriors, maybe we on the left should have put aside all this balkanizing nonsense and been fucking Americans for fuck's sake. Instead of allowing this nihilistic shithead to mainstream and legitimize the racist, sexist, bigoted, and flat-out moronic sensibilities that have always been there, but were held in check by a common understanding that one doesn't get away with that shit in the United States of America. Jesus, Howard, calm down. We'll get you a glass of prune juice and we'll put some Murder, She Wrote on, okay? So the controversy over the book and its content was already pretty heavy, but then a few weeks ago, the cover for the 4th issue came out through the solicitations and made the rounds on social media. And people had reactions. So I'm blurring this out just because I'm assuming that mutilated genitals are a violation of YouTube's policy regarding nudity. But what you have here is a Pakistani man hanging by the neck with his genitals mutilated. And we know he's Pakistani, by the way, because his name tag has a racial slur for Pakistanis, Paki. By the way, can we talk about the fact that that does not make any sense? Did the lynch mob decide to go in the store, find an extra name badge, pull out the printer, type it up, print it up, then put it on his shirt before or during the lynching itself? Jesus fucking Christ. So Images pulled the cover and replaced it with this one. Look at that. A majestic eagle. Very American. What's especially funny about this cover is it actually still says issue 6. And this is directly from Image's website. When the controversy happened and they decided to pull the cover, they just replaced the image with the image of the cover for number 6 without actually renumbering it. So since then, Image has released an apology and Howard Chaykin has released, we'll call it a statement. And plenty of fans and creators have all weighed in on the issue. And I actually want to hear your thoughts too, but let me drop my 2 cents in first. I feel like Care Andrews actually put it best in his tweet about the situation. He said, "I can understand being offended by art. Art has power. I cannot, for the life of me, understand fellow artists calling to censor art." And I want to make a note here because censorship is a really big conversation going on these days. And what it is and what it isn't is really debatable. But I'm inclined to say we let the market decide on things like this. And in this case, the first issue of Divided States of Hysteria actually did sell out. It's going to a second printing. So this book is going to continue on. But Image Comics, even though it's creator-owned and they give their creators a lot more free reign on what they do, somebody in editorial still should have stepped in and said, "Hey, Howard, buddy, I don't want to tell you how to do your book, but can we get you to tone down that cover for issue number 4, you fucking crazy old loon?" Seriously, I love dark stories and dark books. Like I said, I'm a big fan of Garth Ennis. But is this a cover you really want on the racks when you're taking your kid into the store to buy some Batman or X-Men? I'm sure there would have been some sort of a cover to the cover to cover it up in the store as well, by the way. I'm just trying to make a point here. The last point I want to make here has to do with some of the reactions that I've seen from fans saying that because of this book, they're not going to give any of their money to Image. Stop that. Full stop, okay? Image, as I said, is creator-owned. It's not the big two. It's not Marvel and DC. So if you stop giving Image your money because of Howard Chaykin, you're not hurting Howard Chaykin. His book already sold out. The people you're hurting are Jonathan Hickman, Fiona Staples, Kelly Sue DeConnick, Matt Fraction, and any other independent creator out there. If you don't like the book, don't buy it. But don't stop buying other people's books who are going to be affected just because you don't like this book. This isn't Marvel, this isn't DC. You can't just boycott their entire line just because of one book, because you're hurting actual individual people. But what do you think? What qualifies as censorship? Should Image have pulled the cover to this book? Should they even be apologizing for content that they're putting out? What do you think about the book? What do you think about the state of comics? And what do you think about controversies and dark stories? I want to know what you think. And also, do you think I'm a cuck because I have blue hair? Or do you think I'm a Nazi because I have a fade? Because Twitter has got me really confused about that lately. But anyway, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that ringy-ding thing, do all of those things. I so much appreciate your time and you watching this video. It really just means a lot to me. I don't care if a video gets 6,000 views like our Rob Liefeld video, or it gets 27 views like my Minecraft video. It's just really cool that anybody wants to take the time to check out our content. So I really appreciate it a lot. And, just be good to each other out there. And remember, even when comics are garbage, there's still alcohol. Bye. Oh, and don't forget to yell at me on Twitter. Here's some videos.